Winter is back, if only for a short stay. But winter definitely back across the Northeast, and we've got quiet weather over most of the rest of the U.S., but severe weather is going to loom its ugly head, including, by the way, an early SPC risk threat for the northern mid-Atlantic states and maybe points a little bit further north later this coming week. All of that and more on the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Sunday morning. And of course, in spite of the fact that it's cold outside, you might be thinking about mulch and topsoil and gravel and anything else to make your yard look tip-top shape in this coming spring and summer season. And you can do that by heading to Omni True Value Hardware Stores at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number. And the website is...
The website is omnitruevalue. I'm sorry. The website is omnitruevalue.com. And yes, indeed, it is that time of the year, folks. Got mulch? Omni does. And you can get it. Long Island's largest rock salt source. And all of you know that if you head on out to Omni and load up, you'll be ready just in case we do get that unusual April blizzard, which we're at the moment not predicting, but just in case it does happen, you'll be ready with Omni True Value. Again, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue, West Babylon, New York. 11704 is the zip. And the phone number.
11725.
No, it's 11704.
Oh, it is? We don't ever give her the zip code. 736112. Oh, boy. You got me confused now.
11704, Joe.
Okay.
If anybody out there from Omni is watching our show and wants to call in, call us right now. Joe will gladly give you his private phone number.
Yeah, all right.
The Omni number, 631-756-1125. Yes, they are getting ready. Long Island's largest source of rock salt, of mulch.
Yeah, we went.
Go out
We went.
And get it now.
We did. Yes, we know. Okay. All right. So, how cold is it for you right now?
How cold is it? It's 40 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and before the morning is over, before the day is over, we're going to have to turn off the hose, the water getting into the hose, lest it turns to solid ice within the hose during the overnight hours tonight.
Okay.
That's just a gentle reminder to my wife, who is watching right now.
Did you get any grapple yesterday?
We did have some loud cracks of thunder. Did not notice any graupel, though, but left the car outside. In fact, I just realized the car still is out. No, it isn't. I brought the car in last night. We left it out on purpose yesterday because it needed a rinsing, and so why use the hose when nature can do the same thing? So we took advantage of the few downpours or drownpours that we had yesterday for a few brief moments. It was interesting, Joe. What an interesting day we had yesterday up here. I mean, I was trying to read a book by I had the window behind me, bright and sunny at times, and then all of a sudden it got very, very dark. A couple of claps of thunder, 1 or 2 seconds of a heavy downpour. Then the sun came back out. Then it got dark again. Then I heard the claps again of thunder, and then it rained. It was that kind of a day yesterday here in the Valley of the Putnam.
Yeah, a few folks. I saw a number of people reported hail yesterday, and grapple as well. I saw a couple of thunderstorms that showed up on the radar. SPC actually wound up on Friday putting an area of thunderstorm, just general thunderstorm risk for most of eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. So that played out according to plan. Now we got this upper trough that's moving in to bringing in the Arctic air. And of course, everything is relative. It's the end of March, an air mass like this in January, and we probably be talking about highs tomorrow, not getting out of the teens. But this is the end of March, so but still, for the end of the month of March, to see a day where There's going to be some places tomorrow, Joe, that are going to have a tough time getting above 30, especially north and west of the coast. Probably a little bit warmer as you go
Yep.
south in southern New Jersey and point southward. But no doubt that tomorrow you got a minus 15, minus 20 temperature anomaly. That's cold. That's just darn cold for this time of year.
Yeah, and you think about this and how cold it's going to be tomorrow, and notice, of course, that it's happening in late March, and were this happening, let's say in January or February, we'd be talking about high temperatures even in New York City tomorrow, probably just barely above 10 or 12 degrees, and nighttime lows probably down close to zero. But it's no longer January or February. It's now late March, coming up on April on Friday. And so it's going to be cold. I mean, factor in the wind and the chill factor, the feels like index tomorrow, going to make it feel like it's in the 20s, sometimes even in the teens. So no question about it, we're going to have a fling with winter again during the day tomorrow.
So, on that note, welcome to everybody on the chat board, and welcome to everybody that's watching the show today on my YouTube channel. If you like the show, hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel with your Gmail account so that this way you get notifications of the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is on usually 5 days a week. Sunday, we usually start at 11 a.m., but I got something to do this morning, so we started at 10:45, so we could be done by about 11:30 or so. And but normally we start at 11 a.m. and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday we will be here at 7:30. And I find it very interesting, Joe, that the after this cold air pulls out, as cold as it is going to be in terms of the anomalies, we're going to have an attempt of warm air coming up the East Coast later this week, and it's going to set up a severe weather starting Tuesday in the same areas that got it last week across the Gulf states from west to east. But SVC's got which we don't see too often, but they have the area parts of the area in risk for on their long range for day 5, which is Thursday into Friday. And as you know, when SPC's got it in their long range, it's probably a good idea to pay attention.
Absolutely. It may very well be a situation where, even though, let's say, where I am, not yet, at least officially, in that zone where SPC is alerting folks to be aware that there could be some severe weather, even though I'm not officially in it now on day 5. There's no question in my mind that as we get closer, day 4, especially when we get into the standard day 1 through 3 category, we're going to have something. We're either going to be dealing with, at the very least, general thunderstorm activity. Could very well, I think, it will probably be at least marginal. And who knows, maybe we'll make it into the severe zone when we get to Thursday into Friday. So something to watch for, again, 5 days down the road. It's amazing. It's now becoming more common, Joe. I mean, let's say if this happened like a year or two ago, we'd be, wow, look at that, at day 5. I mean, but now, based upon what we've seen in recent days and weeks, it's still interesting and noteworthy that we're seeing, forecasts of possible severe weather that far in advance, but it doesn't have quite the same poof as it did, let's say, a year or two ago. So we shall see. And Tom Contino, you were asking about what exactly does supercooled water mean? And that is simply, it is also known as undercooling. It is the process of lowering the I'm having trouble with my tongue today, Joe.
Yeah.
It is the process of lowering the temperature of a liquid or a gas below its freezing point without it becoming a solid. So there you go. What was that?
I
heard like a crack.
Yeah, I opened the refrigerator door.
Oh, okay.
Getting myself a glass.
All right.
I'm getting myself a glass of water.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's good.
You know why I got myself a glass of water?
Why?
To quote Stinky, my room's on fire. Oh, out of my way. Anyway.
You do, and I'll give you such a pinch.
Exactly. So I'm looking at the satellite.
Hey, look, I lost.
Go ahead.
I lost 1.3 pounds last night. So
Why?
I was up 4 times last
Oh,
night.
okay.
I was up 4 times. So, and
you were
I have a
deliquifying.
scale that, well, I have a scale. I have a scale and it measures in tenths of a pound. And so every time I get up to go take a visit, I weigh myself, and I've determined that each time I, head back under the covers, I've lost 4/10 of a pound. So
Wow.
keep drinking, Joe. Keep drinking.
Yes. Looks like that upper trough is approaching from the west with the Arctic boundary, Joe. There's a lot of clouds coming in from the west on the satellite loop that goes all the way back over into the Great Lakes. And actually, the lake effect snow machine is working a bit of overtime here. And one of the things about this past winter is the fact that, yeah, we had some lake effect snows that occurred over upstate New York and in the usual suspect spots. But interestingly, I think for the most part, the biggest snowfalls occurred in non-lake effect events during the winter in that part of the Northeast. Usually, the lake effect dominates, but here it is, and it's pretty busy on the east shores of Lake Erie, across going east south of I-90. You're seeing snow showers coming in off the lakes and heading right into Buffalo at the moment. Uh, we often hear a lot about the lake effect snow activity there. It's actually the east shores of Lake Ontario that oftentimes produce some really crazy amounts up in north central New York, but they're shut off for the time being, and it's more coming in the west part of Lake Ontario and the eastern part of Lake Erie. Also, in northeast Ohio, getting some bands coming in off of Lake Erie from Cleveland on eastward into eastern Ohio, and some of that is also we're also seeing some light snows in southern Ohio down into the Appalachians there. So it's a fairly extensive round of lake effect snows that are going on. There's probably going to be some 6 inch plus amounts that are going to occur up in upstate New York out of this. But for now, at least, not, some radar echoes showing up now in eastern Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania. It's all moving southeastward. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple of snow showers, or if in places where the temperature might be a little bit warmer, might even be just a plain old rain shower or two. But this is all marking the edge of the very cold air that is coming in and going to take temperatures down in the teens and low 20s by tomorrow morning.
Ross Niederman, by the way, talking about or speaking about snow, says right now it's snowing in Scranton, and that's just a stone's throw away from where I am. So it would not be surprising if many of you watching right now, especially north and west of New York City, encountered some of the wet, flaky weather that is being seen in other places because, again, of that chilly and unstable flow of air.
As far as the rest of the radar is concerned, it's pretty quiet across the southeast and down into Florida. The leading edge of some warmer air is producing a little bit of rain shower activity back in parts of Missouri and down into northeastern Arkansas, and then kind of extends northwestward into Nebraska. And also seeing a little bit of precip, light though, in the along the west coast, but nothing here to write home about. Just going to see what WPC has with respect to snowfall forecasts here in terms of their probabilities. So we haven't used those maps much in the last couple of weeks.
Right. Chuck Cardillo, by the way, now adding to what I just mentioned, so going on by Ross Niederman and Scranton, Chuck Cardillo saying, and addressing you directly, Joe, is snowing pretty good right now here in the western Catskills. To be in the Catskills today.
Yeah, no doubt. Not a surprise with all that stuff coming in off the lakes. It does make sense. So here's I got the map up. It's not behaving itself. Why is it not behaving itself? I didn't want this page, and I gotta go back to the other page. Oh God.
Technology, Joe. Technology.
Yeah. I had it loading. Sometimes with the digital weather, the digital weather feature on the Weather Service and some of their other more interactive maps, it takes a while to get these maps to load up.
Speaking of this, it crossed my mind the other day, with so much technology going on and so many other websites and Facebook pages, showing things like Doppler radar and the latest information from Tropical Tidbits or some of the other websites. I wonder what would happen if I were to do a daily show on my YouTube channel, but used none of that. Instead, I would set up an easel with a bulletin board and use oak tag and
Oh
more or less
God.
do the forecast the way Tex Antoine used to do. In fact, I could even come up with my own character. Instead of, Tex Antoine had Uncle Wethby, maybe I could come up with somebody like Abe Weatherwise or Abe Weatherby or whatever, Caleb Weatherby, and just simply every day dress up the character and take off the oak tag and draw, occasionally. And I'd have a little music in the background, like Fine and Dandy, da 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 da, just like Tex Antoine used to have in the 50s and 60s. And I wonder if doing that on a daily basis, on a regular basis, that I would get some kind of an audience, that people would start talking and say, "Hey, you hear about this guy who does the weather? He does it the old-fashioned way."
Yeah, well,
I'm wondering if that would.
I would probably say that you would uh, get a group that goes up and goes to the bathroom a lot at night.
Yeah.
So in which case you could actually,
my kind of
well, I was going to just say,
my
Joe,
kind of crowd.
in which case you could probably do a combination. You could probably do a combination of weather and nighttime nighttime going to the bathroom tips. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I just had that
there's a
thought.
market for
I re-
there's a market for everything. I just don't know whether uh, what you propose would work. But then again, stranger things have happened. I do have a snowfall forecast map finally up because for some reason WPC stuff isn't working very well today. But you'll notice that if they're going Weather Service on their digital forecast showing up to some half foot amounts across I-90, Syracuse 5, Rochester 6. Uh, even a couple of inches around Utica and Schenectady, a coating to an inch around Albany, in Chuck Cardillo land, an inch or two, and a coating to an inch or two in northern Pennsylvania. So at least for these areas, they're getting the both combinations of winter with respect to the cold, which is obvious, and the snow that is coming off the lakes.
yes, and that's going to be a story here. Excuse me. Probably for much, if not all, of the day today, those scattered snow showers and flurries. And then as the center of high pressure builds over us later tonight and tomorrow, and as the trough swings eastward out over the ocean, things will calm out a bit, but it is going to be, as we stressed at the top of the show, very cold for this time of the year. And then a gradual warming trend. And in fact, the return of the warmer air again, setting the stage for possible severe weather later on in the week. So it's not the kind of, it's an active week, Joe. Maybe it's not the kind of activity that a lot of people were hoping for or banking on if you're a snow lover. But I mean, you'll get a cheap thrill or two maybe today with snow, and then the cold weather settling in tonight, and then more active weather of a different kind in the form of showers and storms, maybe for later on in the week.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the lows tomorrow morning. These are actual low temperatures, folks, that are being forecast, and it's mostly low and middle teens up into upstate New York. You start to go up north of I-90 and up the Northway, and you're looking at low single digits for lows tomorrow morning. Teens and low 20s across New England. Teens and low 20s from southern New England and northeastern Pennsylvania, southward down into the mid-Atlantic states. Washington 28, Baltimore 24, Philadelphia at a quarter, New York City at 22, Long Island, Islip at 21, Bridgeport 22, 19 at Capixie. Was that 18 at, is that Scranton? I can't tell. Looks like 14 at Scranton, 20.
It looks like
14 at Scranton, 20 at
it looks
Allentown.
Yeah, it looks like that, Joe. These are actual ambient air temperatures, correct?
Yes,
These are not wind chills.
No, not wind chills.
I mean, my goodness. I mean, looking at some of these temperatures, like 14 and 15 and 12. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, cold across the south too, where we're seeing temperatures down in the 20s and low 30s, as you head down into the interior Carolinas and here in North Georgia. I got to 33 this morning, but we had a screaming wind here yesterday. It was every bit of 30 to 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts all day long, and it's a little bit gusty now. Maybe it's a shade lower than what it
See that?
was
So the
yesterday.
kind of day that you had, in Georgia yesterday, in a way, is going to be the kind of day that we're going to be subjected to up here tomorrow with the
Yes.
wind and the cold.
But
Yeah.
I can tell you, however, that in 2 days here, for Tuesday and Wednesday, forecast highs close to 80 degrees in Atlanta, which is a couple of hours south of me. But it still means that I'll get here in the mountains. I'll probably see temperatures that'll reach up into the low 70s, which will be
Low to
real,
mid
yeah,
70s.
which would
Yeah.
be really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at the watches and warnings map. We've got that up. We've got a few winter weather advisories up in and around the lake areas of upstate New York, and also along the shore areas off of Lake Erie and northernmost Ohio, northwestern PA. Other than that, it really isn't too much going on. Some red flag warnings in parts of Georgia and eastern Tennessee, and also in central Texas and a small area in South Dakota, but it's a relatively calm period of weather across the U.S. However, that is going to change, as noted with SPC's forecast. Now, there's no severe weather forecast today or tomorrow, so we'll jump to day 3, which is Tuesday into Wednesday, and this is going to set up pretty much in the same fashion as it did last week, where it starts out in the southern plains. And actually, this severe weather event might wind up being on Tuesday a little bit more extensive in terms of the geographic coverage, because the slight risk pushes all the way up into eastern Kansas and western Missouri, the marginal risk on up into Iowa and western Illinois. On day 4, on the first day of the long range, and this popped up on it started popping up on Friday, where they put in some risk, Joe, for the central Gulf Coast states, and this matches what happened last week. Which is now day 4 here for Tuesday. And there's something going on at the Weather Service. Oh, there we go, finally. But again, already with an enhanced area being indicated, that 30% plus area that's showing in northeastern Louisiana, just about all of the state of Mississippi into western Alabama, that would translate into an enhanced risk. So I have to wonder whether we may wind up seeing a moderate risk again showing up when we get to the actual day. And day 5, and they put this up yesterday, and they've kind of they kind of expanded it northward. They have expanded it northward. SPC's got a 15%, or what would be a slight risk of severe weather from North Carolina, from the eastern half of North Carolina, except for the coastal counties, almost half of the state of Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, southeastern Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, central and South Jersey, in the slight risk. So you got to imagine that the marginal risk is going to go further north than that. And I agree with you. I think if we could see the warm front push far enough north, which it sort of happened last Saturday, where it wound up being a little bit further to the north. If the warm front does wind up pushing northward far enough, we could see that slight risk push up into southern New England and into lower Hudson Valley. I don't see why it couldn't do that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, again, it's only he says it's only day 5, and they've already got much of the Mid-Atlantic coast up to central Jersey outlined. So there's still plenty of wiggle room, still plenty of time. Normally, we don't see these zones of possible severe weather this far out shrink. We normally see them expand as more data comes in and the confidence grows. So that's why I say that if we're seeing something alerting us to possible severe weather 5 days out up into central New Jersey, there's no question in my mind that we're going to see that expand, so that when we actually get to the end of the week, when we get to Thursday, Friday, we might be dealing with, at the very least, marginal to possibly even slight. And one has to also wonder, for places that are right smack in the middle of that zone, like let's say down in the Delmarva, whether or not it may go even further. Maybe they might even be thinking about accentuating the threat to include a possible risk of enhanced. So a lot of things are to be mulled here for Thursday, Friday. But you're absolutely right. Nothing is really going to happen of any great import unless, at least locally, unless that warm front somehow manages to push north. And I don't, you know, some winters we have lots of snow over New England and cold air hangs in, and usually we end up getting that warm front pinched off before it reaches us. But I think this time around we may very well see the warm front push through sometime during Thursday, and then set the stage for maybe some fireworks here later Thursday or Thursday night.
Yeah, I got the upper air for. I took it back to yesterday because we're in this got this deep trough in the eastern part of the United States that, thanks to the blocking that's up in the North Atlantic, is not was not the type of situation where a strong shortwave would move through and then the whole trough would lift out. Because if that were the case, we would not be talking about the snow showers for later today and the cold, the core of this cold air that's coming down for Sunday night, Monday. We had actually a very vigorous upper low that went through yesterday across the Ohio and Pennsylvania, and then right over New Jersey, and then just kind of opened up. But there's a secondary short wave that's dropping down, and that's what's coming through today and bringing in the cold air. And you can see it there as it sort of rotates around and then moves on through. But it pulls out, starts to pull out on Tuesday, and we're going to see a ridge build here in the eastern states. And meanwhile, you'll see the deep trough that moves down into the Rockies and into West Texas. And there's an upper low Tuesday that forms over northwest Texas and cuts off in Kansas. So this certainly explains the first round of severe weather that's forecast for Tuesday. And then, of course, that whole trough starts to shift eastwards very sharp, very cold, unstable air aloft. And you can see also here why we're talking about what could be a more vigorous severe weather event for Wednesday in the central Gulf states. And there's yet even another upper low behind it in northeastern Colorado. Big ridge pops up here in the eastern part of the United States, which should mean that the bounce off the lowest lows of this current cold air mass should come relatively quickly. It might take a while for Tuesday. I think we'll see temperatures, rebound back up into the 40s in eastern Pennsylvania, southern New England, but we should be pushing up to 60 or better on Wednesday and into the 60s on Thursday. And it's a fairly decent, Joe, for Thursday. There's an upper low that's going to swing from Kansas City to Detroit. So there's this negatively tilted arm that's lifting up to the northeast. So I think you have a fairly decent setup for some strong thunderstorms for Thursday with this. And, then that's going to eventually pull up and lift out. And going into there's some troughing that approaches next weekend. It looks on the weak side, but we'll take a look and see what it does on the surface with this. But the upper air is certainly suggestive that there's going to be some trouble here.
And yeah, that'll be so we'll have a bit of a breather from talking about unusually cold weather tomorrow to the transition to warmer and again more active weather with those showers and storms for later on in the week.
And I'm trying to load the 700 millibar here so we can get an early look at what the upper air, what the mid levels look like. Of course, if you notice that at least for today, you got these little jet streaks with this trough that's coming through with those snow showers that are out to the west. Here comes the trough in the Rockies and Plains. And yeah, there's some pretty decent jet streaks here this early in the game on the GFS, which is not known uh, to to show this sort of thing when you get further out into the long range. I mean, it does show it, but these things usually wind up getting more vigorous as we get to game time, let's say, and we start to get into those mesoscale models. But definitely some jet streaks here of 700 millibars of 35, 40, 45 knots in the Northeast and down into the Mid-Atlantic states. So if that mixes down, certainly could see some storms that produce some gusty winds. And then, of course, after that, we do wind up seeing seeing it pull out. Seems like Joe. Seems to me uh, we had such a late the severe weather season, if you want to call it that. We were getting severe weather outbreaks in November and December, and that's unusually late for the Northeast and Northern Mid-Atlantic states, and now it seems that we're getting severe weather risks unusually early in the Northeast and Northern Mid-Atlantic states. Normally, it usually got to wait till May or late April, May
Right.
to get to get some of these threats, but seems to be just picking up where it left off.
We've seen a case like yesterday, for example, where you have these very cold pools of air that have generated pea-sized hail and loud thunder, and sometimes they've even gone so far as to put us in severe for that. It was not quite that yesterday, though, for us. And if you want to give me control, Joe, if you want to
Yeah.
allow me to share, I want to show you. We were just talking about the warm front and whether or not it can get into or through our area, and I just took a look and saw on the 6Z GFS maybe a sign that the warm front will indeed get through here in time to allow for that severe weather on Thursday.
All right,
So
hang on one
as soon as you
second.
give me the high sign,
Go ahead. It's all yours.
okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one of my favorite maps, and that map is, of course, the FGen map that shows the area of atmospheric energy, or omega. I would suspect, Joe, that what we're looking at here, this is 12Z Wednesday. This is 8 a.m. on Wednesday now, that this zone that you see here could very well be the warm front. And as we press on to 0Z Thursday, or 8 p.m. on Wednesday evening, take a look. This is such a well-defined area. This might be the warm front, or if not the warm front, because you see here right behind it is the 0Z is the 0 degree Celsius line, and this is for 700 millibars. So maybe this is the leading edge of, at least in the upper levels of the atmosphere, the warming that's going to begin to set the stage for Thursday. And if we go even further beyond that, let's say go to 12Z on Thursday, or 8 a.m. on Thursday, I believe this is still the 0Z Celsius line, and that has now pushed north and east of our area. So we're now in a warmer zone. Notice also that the area of energy, I guess associated with the warm front, has jumped far north into Maine by Thursday morning. Now, I was hoping to see some areas of energy associated with convective activity, maybe down here, but that doesn't show up. At least it doesn't show up quite yet on the FGen maps. There's nothing to indicate, because usually when you see a lot of when you see these areas of omega tightly packed together, but it certainly looks like we're in the warm air now, because look at that southwesterly flow. In some cases at 700, gusting upwards to 50 miles an hour, or 50 knots across portions of central or just offshore from central New Jersey. So it seems to me that we are indeed going to get eventually into the milder air, and that will begin taking place on Wednesday, and we'll be fully into it by the time we get to Thursday. And then we'll see, I guess what you're seeing here, look at this bubble of cold air bulging now in from the Midwest. That might be the cold air that helps set the stage for, and yeah, there you see a little bit of omega by 6Z Friday, or 2 a.m. Friday. So maybe, Joe, what we're looking at in terms of active weather may not necessarily be, Thursday morning or early Thursday. It may more likely be Thursday night, late into early Friday. That area, that zone that they block out for day 5, actually stretches from 12Z Thursday to 12Z Friday. So this might be it in the overnight hours of Thursday night. This might be the front that comes in and sets the stage for some active weather. Just off the top of my head here, let me just quickly, this is 700. Let's see what 850 has. No, well, it doesn't show much activity. Well, maybe, yeah. You can almost see at 850 a zone of instability here. So we might be looking at, Joe, the active weather for showers and storms for Thursday night, late Thursday night, or maybe early Friday. And then the cold front moves through, And look at this. We're back into a much colder airflow. Boy, look at that press of colder air. What is that? That's zero. I think it's what? This is zero line. Is this like -6 or is it -10 here? Well, any case, and you can see the northwest flow. So you can see that by next weekend, next Saturday,
-6.
-6. So you can see by next weekend, regardless of how warm it may get at the end of this upcoming week, once we get into next weekend, it's going to turn cold once again.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be as extreme as what we've had right now, but it's definitely going to be another shot of colder than normal temperatures. And of course, as these air mass, if we're going to be in a pattern where you're not getting lows going to your south and starting to worry about nor'easters or anything like that, it's you're going to get these big temperature bounces. I mean, when you think about it, you're going to go from say 20 just on average. You go from a low of 20 Monday morning and Tuesday morning. So Tuesday morning, a low of 20, and you're pushing it into the 60s by the time you get to Wednesday and Thursday. And the thing is, in terms of timing or how Thursday actually sets up, you have to wonder whether you could actually see readings push higher than that. What if we get in a situation, if the warm front really clears the area and goes up to the north, where we break out into some sunshine and daytime heating before the front approaches with thunderstorms, that maybe we'll see temperatures push up to 70 or better, which would set the table up for some stronger storms as well. So that's something to consider when it comes to trying to figure out how strong these storms may or may not be come Thursday.
Look at this, Joe. I mean, on this map here, this is the -18 Celsius isotherm, and that is for tomorrow morning, right over New York City. -18 C at 8 a.m. tomorrow. And look up here, almost to Timothy Veltman land, up almost to Albany. Actually, it's over the Adirondacks. -21. Did you ever think that we would see this late in the season these kind of cold temperatures aloft? At least that's the story. I mean, this is really cold air for this time of the year.
We're psychologically at a point where you want all this stuff to go away. That's the thing that bugs
Yes.
me about it. It's you. I mean, I know how I feel here because I've already had some really warm days. I mean, yesterday still made it up close to 60 before the cold air started to come in and the winds really picked up. You just haven't I've had enough of it. It's enough. Make it go
Yeah.
away. Let's just real quick and just run through. This is the overnight GFS because thanks to daylight saving time, we would have the new run right now, or at least half of it, but we don't have that. Did you put in a chance for a shower on Wednesday when the warm front goes by, or Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, or whatever that time frame looks like?
To tell you the gosh, I didn't do any forecasting yesterday, but on Thursday and Friday for Wednesday, I actually had the mention of a snow shower or maybe
Yeah,
mixed rain and snow showers.
Well, it
And
might
and
happen
now,
Tuesday night in some places.
yeah,
It's nothing to scream home about. It's going to be a front with sort of a stick of some precip as it goes by. Meanwhile, as we watch the GFS Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, you see the development of thunderstorms there in East Texas and Oklahoma and on up into Missouri, and then it gets very vigorous Wednesday afternoon across Louisiana and Mississippi into Alabama. It's got a sharp looking line, goes all the way up to southern Indiana and goes all the way down to New Orleans. And then on Friday, I'm sorry, then on Thursday, that's on Wednesday. On Thursday, we've got the warm front actually. There's actually two warm fronts here, Joe. There's the warm front that goes by. There's a bit of a warm front that goes by Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. The isobars get pinched. If you look on the GFS 2 a.m. Thursday morning, there's a little bit of a pinching of the isobars right here, right over Delaware and Northern Virginia. So there's some kind of warm front, like a secondary warm front that moves on up, and it gets to New York City around 8 a.m. and then it pushes further north. Maybe I don't know. We'll see when we get closer if this winds up being real or if it's um, more of a southerly flow, which would favor severe thunderstorm activity to be more inland than along the immediate coastal areas. Yeah, that front goes by. It does turn much colder. Another low in eastern Canada with a bit of a gradient here for Friday into Saturday. And then some little low goes to our south on Saturday night into Sunday of next weekend. And then on it goes. I mean, I don't see, this is usually a time where you wind up seeing, you start to get into April, you get these lows that try to cut off and off the mid-Atlantic coast or off New England. Not seeing any signs of that. Just more of the same of what we saw last week, what we're going to see this week, and probably down the road over the next couple of weeks. So
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
prepare you
Well,
continue to prepare
I
yourself for
just
more
want to
ups and
also
downs.
I want to just say hello to Leon Probitsky, one of our truly. It's I know that on Facebook they give you like a little gemstone or whatever like that when they say that he or she is a top fan of yours. They really ought to do that on the chat board as well. And if we were able to give out gemstones, Leon would be right there, almost at the head of the line. Thank you again, Leon, for hitting super chats for us, and we really appreciate it. And I enjoyed your little cartoon or animation showing what looks to be a green pear and somebody dropping the mic.
By the way, Tom Contino is worried about the cold with forsythias. Forsythias are pretty hardy. They bloom no matter what come late March, early April. So I don't think you have to really worry too much about them. They can take care of themselves pretty well in this cold.
What are you talking about now? What getting cold?
The forsythias.
Oh, the forsythias?
Yeah,
I thought it was for well, whatever. How about Sister Cynthia?
Sister Cynthia simply scintillating. Yes.
Simply scintillating.
Right. No. The forsythias, Joe. The
forsythia.
They come out yellow in March and early April.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, those flowers, Joe.
But you pronounce it. But you pronounce it forsythias.
Right, forsythia.
I thought it was forsythia.
Either way.
I thought it was forsythia.
Okay, it's my Georgia accent getting in the way here.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not gonna. They're doing their thing no matter what. So are the daffodils. So they don't. They're not impacted by the. Actually, it's better if it's cold because when you have warm springs, when these things bloom, if it's too warm, the flowers don't last. They just do their thing and go away within a matter of days. But if you've got a nice, I always used to like cold Aprils, if only because I was a big daffodil / tulip grower. I would plant 400 or 500 bulbs every October and have them bloom in the spring. And I remember one year where we had a really cold April into early May, and the tulips bloomed and last for about a good 5-6 weeks before they died off. And I can also tell you that I can remember a very warm April into May. One of those Aprils not too many years ago where we saw temperatures that made it up close to 90 degrees. The blooms lasted all of maybe 2 days before the heat got to them. So you're better off if you like spring flowers and spring blooms, and I'm talking about plants that are natural to bloom in the spring, not stuff that's grown in hothouses that's really meant for summer. Those plants thrive much better when the weather is cold during the spring months. You get beautiful flowers and they last for a long, long time. So anyway,
we had when I lived in the Bronx, my one of my grandmother's pride and joy was the magnolia tree that was out in front of our house. And one year, it was 1976, we had an early spell of mild weather. It was in late March of that year, and the magnolia tree blossomed. And you see this is a beautiful tree, and these magnolia blossoms coming on out. But then, very much like akin to what we're about to see tomorrow, was a surge of much colder air that came in, and the magnolia blossoms, they were out for such a short time. They're very short-lived bloom, and they bloomed. The cold air came in. Everything on the tree just like wilted or died off, and you could see it came in so fast. You actually saw the magnolias like drooping, like because of the cold weather. And then after that, we had that incredible siege or surge of heat where on Easter Sunday it was 96 degrees. And Joe, was so sad. I mean, here it is, extremely hot, exceedingly hot. And you saw the magnolias are the first blooms to come out, but yet you saw all of these magnolia blooms still like they're dead now in the extreme heat. It was so sad. The magnolias always are the first ones to at least come out. And I remember the two gentlemen I used to listen to on radio here in New York, Barry Farber. Barry Farber had this kind of a southern accent. He could speak a multiple number of languages, including he was Jewish, and he was interviewing Gene Shepard, the humorist, and he once told Gene Shepard, he says, "You know what happens when you touch a magnolia blossom?" And Gene Shepard said, "No." He says, "What happens?" He said, "Turns brown." And Gene Shepard said, "Who? You or the magnolia blossom?"
God. You just reminded me of.
To which Barry Farber said, "I never tried."
You just reminded me of Dorothy Parker when they told her that Calvin Coolidge had died. She said he did. How could you tell?
Yeah.
Because he had this. I guess Calvin Coolidge was not exactly the most charismatic person in the world. I think he was described as sort of rather boring.
Well, Southern Cal, Silent Cal,
yes,
they called him.
Exactly.
He rarely said much of anything.
She also said on her, I think on her tombstone, well, she was cremated, I believe, and on her memorial plaque, it says, "Excuse the dust." James H.
Somebody reporter. James H. Yes, the super chat. Right?
James H. hitting super chat. Thank you, James. Most appreciated. Glad he always appreciates our shows. Thank you, and we appreciate your generosity and for being here too on a regular basis. I'm sorry, Joe. You were about to say.
A woman reporter came up to Calvin Coolidge and said, "Mr. Coolidge, I will bet that I can make you say more than 2 words in any question that I ask of you." And Coolidge looked at her straight in the eye and said, "You lose."
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? On that note, we're going to wrap it up. I've got a couple of things I got to do. So thanks, everybody, for being here on this Sunday morning, and appreciate you getting on a little extra 15 minutes earlier because we started at 10:45 instead of our usual 11 o'clock Eastern time. So everybody have a great rest of your Sunday. Let's, by the way, cheer on the Peacocks of St. Peter's. The Jersey City Boys are going to be playing.
That was amazing.
Yes, well, they're going to be playing in the next round here, North Carolina, at, was it 5 o'clock today?
5 o'clock. 5 o'clock.
All right, so fingers crossed that they'd be the first 15-seeded team to make the Final Four. That'll be amazing if they did.
How many people do you think at CBS at Black Rock, at the corporate CBS headquarters, how many of those corporate suits are saying to themselves, "Thank God we have a game like that to televise"? You just know that even people who have a small amount of interest in basketball will be watching that game just to see what the heck happens with this Cinderella team. Thank you, Mark G. He says, "I'm here today,
Mark,
listening while doing Sunday Fun Day chores." And we thank you for hitting super chats as we close out this Sunday morning edition of Joe and Joe.
All right, folks. So we'll see you tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern time. Goodbye, everybody.
Au reservoir.